Hey, what up everybody? So welcome to the build/guide video. I'll go ahead and start things off with my food, which is fried oyster sandwich. 70 power and negative 10% damage. Gives you a little bit of power and gives you a little bit of toughness. With the negative 10% damage, you feel tanky. Switching over to my wrench food, I use Potion of Karka Toughness. It gives you a flat 150 toughness. It's the best way to get toughness into your build because it's 150. I will warn you, it is a bitch to get and it's slightly expensive. So let's go ahead and move over to the build stats. So here's the build stats. As you can see, we're at 2400 power, 2500 toughness, 20,000 HP, 56% crit chance, and a flat 200% crit damage. Switching over to the gear, it is all Marauder with durability runes and power infusions all the way down. For weapons, I like pistol shield and also Marauder. I take cleansing, but sometimes I run accuracy or air. But a simple must is energy. Basically, for any dodge roll build, you're gonna want energy. If I'm not running into anything that's Condi, like all power players, I'll switch to accuracy, which will give me a 63% crit chance, and it feels really nice in fights. Moving over to trinkets, my back piece, I typically run captains because it gives me a 1% crit chance, higher than knights. But if you need a little bit more tankiness, you can run knights. You'll go up to 2570. But me personally, I like the 1% crit chance. So I run the captain's back piece for that 1% crit chance. The rest of my trinkets are all Berserker with power infusions. My underwater breather is Marauder with durability runes. And same for my weapon, Marauder with accuracy and energy and power infusions. Alright, let's switch over to the build here. So the first line I take is Alchemy. Let's start with the miner here, Hidden Flask. So basically this is going to be one of your primary sources of Fury and Might. Basically just free boons that you get for once you reach 75% health, and the cooldown's relatively short. Switching over to Invigorating Speed. Now this is where you're going to get permanent vigor in this build, and it feels great. I used to run Protection Injection, but it's kind of a long cooldown for 4 seconds of protection. Man, moving over to Lesser Elixir C. This will convert 3 of your conditions into boons. It's kind of a long cooldown. I wish it was shorter, but ain't it. So I run Comeback Cure because Comeback Cure has no ICD, which means anytime you cleanse, remove, cure a Condi with your sigils or runes or traits or your heal or Elixir C, you're gonna get that regen. I do run Auto S when I have support. I'm not a big fan of the change that they did to this, but I mean a little bit of healing when you get boons, tons of boons in this build. Of course HGH for all the elixirs that we're running. Moving down to Tool Line. So activating a tool belt skill gives you vigor. Lesser its utility goggles, break stun, gives you immunity to blind and fury. So this will be another source of your fury. I like static discharge for other builds, not for this build, for burstier builds. So your tool belt skills get a shorter cooldown. So all your throwables, all your F abilities, and your forge. Your forge is also a tool belt skill. All these skills will get a shorter cooldown. Moving over to one of my favorite traits. So this will reveal someone if you hit them in stealth, or CCing them will apply reveal. Now both of these functions are under the one trait and they are separate from each other. So both of them have their own 25-second cooldown. And because both of them are considered tool belt skills, they go towards kinetic battery charges, which will just add more ways to get more kinetic battery charges without actually trying to do so. So here's why we want permanent vigor also, not just for our dodges, but for the 10% damage while under the effects of vigor. So we have permanent vigor, which means we have permanent 10% damage in the build. And permanent vigor helps with dodge rolls. And for the Grandmaster, kinetic battery, once you get to 5 stacks, you gain super speed and quickness for a decent amount of time. And you don't even have to try to get it, just playing the build, using your tool belt skills, going in and out of Forge, you'll get those kinetic battery charges constantly. Alright, so moving down to Holosmith line. So the first trait I take is Light Density Amplifier, because it's 15% damage reduction, and it's so noticeable when you're fighting power builds. It makes you feel really tanky. It's so noticeable when you don't have it on. If you're not running into a lot of power stuff, if you're running into a lot of Condi players, like, you would really want to take Prismatic Converter to get that extra condition removal. Both of these are really good. I wish I could run both, but I can't. For the minor, heat therapy. Basically, as you expel heat, you heal for a certain amount. It's kind of whatever, but it's okay healing. So crystal configuration Eclipse. I was okay with the change. I kind of wish they just gave you more stab or longer duration of stab. It's still the only choice here. So here's the other damage mod, giving you 15% damage while above 50% heat, to go along with the permanent 10% we have when you have Vigor, giving you 25% damage above heat and if you have Vigor. Grandmaster Vent Exhaust, just because it's the best way to manage your heat and to take the heat and dodge roll it onto enemies in an AoE that gives burn and damage, which is not that bad of damage actually. Alright, so let's go ahead and move over to gameplay. Alright, so I get a lot of messages, mails, whispers, comments asking why pistol shield instead of rifle, and basically what that comes down to is, number one, preference. Everyone's preference from person to person is going to be different. Some people are going to want to play Condi, some people are going to want to play power or support, some are going to want to play shield or rifle. Everyone's choices will be their own person to person, unless you're just on meta battle. So I'd like to take this time to say, don't run rocket boots. They are garbage in fights. They are only good for chasing or running. If you're looking to fight people, rocket boots is garbage. It's not what you want. So the main reason that I take pistol shield over rifle is the difference between utility and damage. Rifle only offers damage and mobility. And the mobility is jump shot, which doesn't even have an evade frame, which gets cancelled or interrupted 99% of the time. While pistol shield has so much utility to it, which I will go over in detail in this video of how to play pistol shield. Alright, so starting with pistol, the auto attacks aren't very strong, but they are AoE and can hit up to 5 targets in a small area. The bleeding, however, is only caused by the bullet that hits the first target, not by the explosion, which is AoE. But because the attacks are AoE, if anyone is standing near a ledge or a cliff or a tower or a platform, even if the shot is obstructed, the AoE aspect will still hit them. Alright, so moving on to pistol shot number 2, Poison Dart Volley. Now this, unlike the auto attacks, is not an AoE skill, but it is a channeled skill. Because it is a channel skill, you will have to pan your camera to keep the target in the middle of your screen. Failure to not track the target will result in the skill canceling and going on full cooldown. So I'd like to take this time to talk about allow skill retargeting option under your options in Guild Wars. This will allow you to change target while using channeled skills that have multiple hits and change to a different target without canceling the skill. It also works if you change target in the middle of casting your ultimate Prime Light Beam. Moving on to pistol skill number 3, Static Shot. Now this skill has a very cool effect where once you shoot it, it bounces between targets and does a considerable amount of damage if it's on 2 targets. Now if you're in a bigger scale fight, the bounce will hit and blind 4 different targets, and considering the cooldown on this skill, it's great for team fighting. Alright, so let's switch over to shield and check out the utility. So the number 4 has 3 functions to it. It reflects projectiles the whole duration from any direction, but if you explode your shield, you can knock back up to 5 enemies away from you, which triggers your reveal trait, which is a tool belt skill, which triggers a stack of kinetic battery. And using that same function, the knockback, you can blast your smoke screen for stealth AoE or water fields for AoE healing. Here's a little trick: if you blast your smoke screen with your shield blast, it will AoE stealth and push people away without revealing you. Alright, so moving on to shield number 5, static shield. It also has 3 functionalities to it. First one is at range. It was simple block that will block all projectiles coming your way. The secondary function, if you interrupt the block, and it will throw your shield in a line, dazing opponents and coming back to you. It can hit up to 5 targets in a line, and it'll always boomerang back straight to you, as long as it doesn't get obstructed or blocked, etc. So the last functionality is a simple melee range stun block. Anything hitting your block that's in melee range will get stunned. If they have stability, there's an ICD that removes 1 stack of stability per second per person hitting your block. Another awesome thing about the block, it will interrupt iframes. So pistol whip on Thief will get interrupted if it hits your block. Unrelenting assault on Revenant will get interrupted if it hits your block. Blurred Frenzy on Mesmer will get interrupted if it hits the block. And also with the number 5, there's a trick. If you get once you get the timing down, you are able to full duration block and also throw your shield. If you're fighting someone that's melee and they're hitting the block and they're eating the stun, then you can also daze them immediately after. So now that we've gone over the basics of what shield and pistol can do, I'd like to go over a few things that you should definitely do while playing Holosmith to play it optimally. Most of these will be in a general case, not just in the case of pistol shield. Let's first start with how to sustain as a Holosmith. The first thing that you really always want to do is your F1 ability followed by a Holo Leap. Doing this will give you regen and a leap finish of healing. If you're running pistol shield or sword shield, you're able to use the F1 ability with your shield blast on shield 4 and Holo Leap to get a really quick combo of a blast heal and a leap heal. This will take a lot of practice, as you need to be really fast in blasting the water field and then switching to Holo form and Holo Leaping before the field ends. Of course, you're able to add the shield blast and the leap into your rotation of your heal turret as well. This will be a huge boost in the amount of healing that you do, and it'll also make you offensive because you're Holo Leaping. You can Holo Leap at a target. Basically, the thing to take away from all of the Holo Leaping is that you must Holo Leap through your water fields to sustain yourself better. Okay, so let's go over damage. The main thing I want to stress about damage is camera manipulation. If you don't control your camera to aim your forge number 4 or your pistol number 2, your damage is going to suffer greatly. There's no real intricate combos to Holosmith, but once you understand the skills and how they function and when to do what, you can start to piece together different things. And one of the best things that you can do is Corona Burst with a Holo Leap. Now that sounds very simple, but getting the timing for both of these skills to connect at once is the closest thing to burst that a Holosmith has. There's no real way to set it up other than knowing timings and expecting when to land the skills. But when you are able to connect Corona Burst and a Holo Leap at the same time, that is when you will notice a spike in damage, which is the closest thing to burst and spike that a Holosmith has. Alright, so let's start going over utilities. Starting with Elixir C's tool belt skill, Toss Elixir C. This would be your primary source of Condi removal. You want to make sure that you don't panic when you're fighting Condi like I do sometimes, and I look down and I've got like 8 stacks to burn and I press my Elixir C instead of using my Elixir C throw. The skill Elixir C itself is more of your oh shit button when it comes to Condis. If you get overloaded, if you get transferred to or run into a Necro Elite, whatever happens, if you've got just a lot of Condis on you, that's when you want to press Elixir C. Alright, let's take this time to go over the Elixir U's throw ability, which is a reflect wall, such as this, or a smoke screen, such as this. No matter which one you get, you want to make sure that you're fighting around them and keeping enemies on the opposite side of them. While the smoke screen will destroy projectiles, it'll also give you blind if enemies walk near it, and stealth if you leap and blast it. The reflect wall, on the other hand, will actually reflect projectiles back at enemies and give you light aura if you leap through it, and cleanse a condi if you blast it. Alright, so let's talk about Elixir U and the two ways that you can use it. You can use it defensively to break you out of stun, but you want to make sure that your reactive lenses trait has already been activated so you don't waste 2 stun breaks in one go, getting you back into the fight and giving you quickness to make your skills cast faster. Or you can use the skill offensively and use it to get quickness to cleave someone out while people are trying to res it. In that same mindset, you can use it to mow people down with quickness auto attacks if you feel that they have no escapes, no teleports, or getaways. Alright, so let's move on to Elixir S's tool belt ability, which is Toss Elixir S. This can be used quite like Elixir U, defensively and offensively. Offensively, you can use it to stealth yourself and open up on targets so they can't see where you're attacking from, giving you a slight edge and a nice opener. Or you can use it to stealth yourself to buy you some time waiting for your heal and your cooldowns to get you back in the fight. And now Elixir S utility skill, this also can be used defensively and offensively. Defensively, you can use your Elixir S to secure reses in hectic situations where you would take lots of damage, or simply to break stun and avoid any damage coming your way. Though do try to avoid having condis on you, as you can't use any skills while you are in Elixir S. While offensively, you can use Elixir S to secure stomps and avoid any damage coming your way. And for our last utility, which is our ultimate, Prime Light Beam. Now this skill is a great skill. It's unblockable, it's at 1200 range, relatively short cooldown, and it's got good damage. The one thing that you do want to remember with this skill is using it above 50% heat is best for the fire field that does damage and does burning ticks over time. I typically use the laser in one of two ways, which end up being relatively the same thing. Either laser a person if I think that the laser will kill them, so when they go down in the laser they're also in the fire field, so if anyone's trying to res them they'll take the fire damage. Or I'll laser it down to hit multiple people at once and put a fire field to add extra pressure on the people trying to res. Holosmith gameplay overall in team fights, it's more than just a minor support or a DPS or a peeler or a stealther or a stomper. It does everything. That is one of the reasons why I really enjoy Holosmith, because it can do so many different things, it has so much utility, and it's just so fun to play. With that being said, to end this video, I'd like to just say, watch your allies as much as you watch your enemies. Make sure that they're stealth, that they're, that they're healed, that they're in a good position, and be on target. If you're on target and you're watching your allies and you're watching your enemies and you're making the right choices, such as cleaving out the down instead of going for a stomp to get a revive for your teammates, it's these little things that make or break fights that a lot of people don't seem to realize. I hope the video was informative and you learned something new that you didn't know about Holosmith, or maybe the video makes you want to play Holosmith. Either way, thanks for watching.